Hi,
Hey, how are
how's
you?
it going?
How you doing, John? Can you hear me, John?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay, great. Hold on one second. Okay.
Okay.
Um. All right. I love your. You're in your drum room, which is awesome. I
I'm
know
in.
the poster.
Yeah. I'm in the drum room today. So yeah, I just have a lot of practicing, a lot of stuff to do, a lot of work. So yeah,
Very
just been in
cool.
here.
It's awesome because I wanted to ask you about your drum room, but I'll get to that because
Okay.
yeah. So well, I basically I want to go back and forth with questions I've sort of like constructed, but we'll have a dialogue and stuff like that. Just to let you know,
Okay.
John, I like to do interviews. I routinely do them. I do them with people I find interesting. But with you, I don't just find you interesting. You're very inspiring to me. I'm a drummer. I'm a filmmaker, but I've always been a drummer. I'll always be a drummer. And I have a cat who's climbing up this thing, and you're into cats, and you got to give me a second to get my cat. Salem.
Sure. Yeah. Bring the cat into it.
All right. I know you do rescue. You could rescue my cat, Salem.
Okay. Right
Uh,
on. Yeah. That all
so,
started just from being in this area. There was a lot
oh,
of there was a lot of cats in the area that I saw behind a dumpster, and that was
wow.
what got things going, is contacting a rescue group, and then I ended up volunteering at one point. So yeah.
Wow. Very cool, man. And this, when you say this area, you mean Los Angeles? You're kind of near the Sunset Strip in a way. Am I right about that from the interviews I watch, or not necessarily?
I mean, if I was to drive there, it'd be about 20 minutes. If I was riding my bike, 45, something like that. I'm more near downtown LA. So,
Okay.
um, Chinatown area, if we want to get really specific, but which is just north of downtown, but it's kind of in the considered the downtown area.
Yeah. John, I constructed a lot of questions, but also I want to kind of shoot from the hip with you. And since we're talking about
Sure.
this right now, you coming from Ohio, going to LA, that's a giant epic change of lifestyle. What was that? If you could start telling me what was that like adapting, and how have you like how do you feel at home in Los Angeles at this point?
Yeah. Okay. So I did all that several years back. I'm trying to think the exact year. It was around 2000, maybe even 1999. So, I mean, this was not long after graduating from high school and all that.
Wow.
I mean, I stayed in Columbus for a short period of time, went to Ohio State, and then I was in New York City for about 5 months. I left really quickly because I joined a band that was based in Los Angeles. And that band broke up by the time I moved out to Los Angeles. They just couldn't keep it together. But I wasn't settled into New York at that moment, so I upped and left and was making my plans to come to LA, and they kind of fell apart. So that being said, I've been here ever since, and I've just kind of planted my roots here at this point, and I've been here longer now than when I was living in Columbus, where I grew up.
Wow.
So I've spent more than half my life in Los Angeles, and I love it. I mean, it's a hard city on some levels. I think any major cities, can be really difficult um, in a lot of ways, but it is still the epicenter of the entertainment industry, I'd say. I mean, I know there's pockets, all around. I mean, New York, London, Atlanta, Chicago. There's places where there's a thriving music scene happening outside of Los Angeles, but this still seems to be the place where uh, you know a lot of things start to happen. Whether it's a tour forming here, a lot of artists live out here, so I think the opportunities are still best out here. I know that's changing. When you're able to everyone's able to jump online. I mean, that was even something, if we go back, I mean, of course there was the internet, but I mean, it wasn't something that people utilized as much as they do today. I know it sounds archaic to even think of a time without that, where people would put flyers on bulletin boards and whatnot, trying to connect with people.
Yeah.
And but that was the reality. And but now, with people being able to connect online, in some ways, you could probably get away with living anywhere. But I mean, still living in LA is good because, yeah, this is where a lot of people meet up. So if there is a rehearsal for a tour or something going on, or I just get phone call, just last minute stuff. I mean, a lot of the gigs I've even gotten have been because we need somebody like right now because somebody bailed on the gig. And it's gonna, you're more likely to get that job than if you live out here.
You know what's crazy, John? What's
So, oh,
crazy
sorry,
about
John.
yeah, no, what's crazy about what you're saying is I read your book. I love your book. And in your book, you speak often, a few times about your and myself as well being MTV was a big part of your life. And the
Right.
crazy thing is, you ended up sort of centering yourself in the epicenter of what MTV was, the Sunset Strip area. Basically, you are close to the hub of what that whole MTV was all about. So it's kind of wild that you went there and here you are in your drum room so
Yeah.
yeah.
My grimy drum room.
What's up with your drum room, dude? I identify with what I read in your book about you so much. I grew up with Mark Morton, who's in Lamb of God. He's a guitar player, and I had a
Okay.
storage unit, outdoor storage unit, kind of like what you have. And I know how important these drum rooms are. Tell me about your this drum room, and are there other drummers there? Are you
Yeah.
safe to play loud? I mean, tell me about your drum room, man.
All right. Well, I'm in a really, really old warehouse building. And I mean, drums are loud, they're obnoxious.
Yeah.
So it's, a lot of people don't like us around when we're practicing. It's just a loud instrument. So, yeah, typically it's hard to do that in a residence, unless you've been able to soundproof everything effectively, which even then that's pretty challenging to do. So anyway, yeah, you're allowed to drum here. You could drum here 24/7 if you
Wow.
choose to.
Wow.
I'm only in recent times am I now sharing my room with a band. So there's a whole band in here now that shares it with me, but they come in once, maybe twice a week, and then they'll use it a lot more when I'm on the road. I was just, these last few years I've been touring so much that I am rarely here. A lot of my
Yeah.
practicing is done while I'm on tour, and I have to have a
Wow.
little practice pad set up, maybe if I can even bring that with me. In some cases, we're traveling very lightly, and so even bringing that is a challenge. But anyway, I digress. I do share the room now with a friend's band that I met when I was out with Mortiis in Mayhem. There was a band called New Skeletal Faces, and they're mostly located in San Diego, although a couple of the guys are out here in Los Angeles. But they were looking for a rehearsal spot,
Wow.
so they share it with me. So a lot of their stuff, I'm actually using a lot of their gear now, and a lot of my stuff is in storage because it's just too much to have um, uh, two drum kits set. I mean, it's a very tiny room, so to have all this drum equipment and whatnot in there, it'd be just too much. So I'm borrowing Don's drum kit when I practice at the moment, and yeah, that's about it. I mean, yeah, there's other drummers in here. There's people. I mean, I don't want to give away certain names,
Sure.
but yeah, there's some notable people in this building. There's people that are doing some pretty incredible stuff, and I've even shared my room with other drummers that are doing incredible things too. So yeah, it's a really cool spot. You'll always hear people. I mean, this is a very quiet part of the day. So because for a minute I was thinking, oh man, if it's kicking off in here, maybe I might have to do this outside somewhere since I'm here right
Yeah.
now. But right now it's a little bit quiet. But usually it is during the week. normal business hours when people are at jobs and what have you.
Yeah.
This place isn't bumping too much, but there's a lot of professional drummers in here. There's a lot of people that, yeah, they got to get the practice in when they can because they're going to be off on tour or they're going to, they have
Yeah.
unconventional lives, so to speak. So yeah, there'll be people coming in at all hours doing their thing.
So
So
John,
yeah.
I follow your Instagram, of course, and I see you basically have back to back, if I'm correct, back to back tours at this point with Pschlon Nine, and then you got like more IMX again, and then
Yep.
Mortiis. Is that correct? Like almost month by month, February, March, April kind of a thing. Am I correct about that?
Yes, yes, yes.
And
Um,
that's intense, man.
no real stops, to be honest.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah, the LA show for Pschlon Nine ends. That's the final date. Will be March 7th, I believe. So I'm going to play that show immediately. Come to my drum studio to swap out gear, and then early in the morning, around 7 a.m., I'll drive out to the desert where Chris, he's the singer and
Yeah.
of IAMX. He lives out there, and that's where we rehearse.
Wow.
So he's in sort of a desert town, maybe about 2.5 hours from LA. So I'll get all my gear, first thing in the morning. It won't even be an 8 hour turnaround. I'll get all my stuff, load up my car, and head out to the desert, and we'll have 2 days of rehearsal. And then from there, we fly to Europe and we start a European tour. So yeah.
When you're in your room right now, besides having this interview with me and talking with me, are you practicing and rehearsing for any of these three shows, or you're just basically just rehearsing your drums in this room as we speak this week?
Yeah. I mean, I'd say most of my rehearsing is always revolved around the gig.
Okay.
Whatever gig I have, whatever songs I need to learn. Um, and so, I mean, my method of practice, is clearly, I mean, first of all, memorize the songs. So I make charts for myself. So I have little notes because I'm a visual learner more than I am someone who listens, learns by ear. So if I can make notes and be like, okay, here is, you know, the arrangement of the song, so to speak, I'll kind of figure that out. And if I have anything that's difficult, like sometimes there might be something technically difficult. I mean, I often play with bands where they program drums. And so sometimes they program stuff that's extremely difficult to play sometimes. And when that happens, it takes me a while to figure out how I'm going to do that as a human drummer. And
Let me
I make
let,
little extra. Sorry,
let
go on.
Yeah, I want to stop you right there because it's when I saw you at a recent show in New York with IMX. That's when I knew I had to do an interview with you and talk to you. I'm going to tell you why. I was right up there, by the way. I was right in front of you, and you had a freaking beer keg as an instrument, and then these metal ribbons, and it blew my mind because your set for that show was minimalist. It was minimal, and it was also a hybrid of technology and acoustic instruments and percussion. And like, can you talk a little bit about that? And I say this only because when I asked to interrupt you, it's because what you were doing with the metal ribbon was what usually people do with electronica, and you did a reverse.
Yeah.
You acoustically mimicked what some people would do with technology, and it blew my mind. As you have a hybrid kit that is utilizing technology, how you use the metal ribbon just blew my mind. And please speak a little bit about that. In addition to one last thing, in addition to another thing that blew my mind was your kit was very tight. There was not a lot of reverb. You could have added reverb to the kit, but you actually did a reverse of what I would have expected in a show like that, and it worked perfectly. It was like a Stuart Copeland. You cut right in through all of the chaotic music that was. So tell me a little bit why you made those choices and decisions using these percussive elements like a metal ribbon, this metal beer keg, and a hybrid kit. It was astounding. It blew my mind. You inspired me so much that night.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, big time.
Well, there's a couple reasons behind that. On a personal level, I did grow up with like a lot of industrial music, and I'm talking about like the early stuff and bands like living in Los Angeles. I mean, there was an absolutely incredible band called Babyland, and they were like an industrial type of group, industrial punk group, and the drummer played all sorts of just scrap metal and giant plastic buckets and whatnot. And he just mic'd this thing. And they called themselves electronic junk punk because, yeah, I mean, when
Great.
he's hoisting all this stuff onto the stage and setting it up, it just looks like just scraps of
Great.
garbage, honestly. And then they would mic it all up and it sounded killer. And so I was really inspired by them in particular. But I mean, it goes further back. You've got bands like Test Department or Einstein's Neubauten, Throbbing Gristle, bands like that were doing this sort of thing, long before. And anyway, yeah. So the beer keg, that the drummer, the whoever was drumming before for me in IMX. I mean, Chris mentioned that, like, yeah, we sometimes hit a beer keg on a song or two, but then I started utilizing it a bit more. Um, because it is a killer sound when you mic
It
that thing
is.
up. It's just very,
Yes. It's like a
just
China or a
raw,
Yuan.
and
It's just a nice accent.
it,
How
it's
you
a great
use it. Yeah.
sound.
Yeah.
And then you can get various tones out of it too, depending on where you
Wow.
hit it. So it's a really
Wow.
cool instrument, to be perfectly honest. And then the I always play, they're called sometimes stacks or ribbon crashers. That's when you have stacks of metal. So
Yeah.
in my case, it's Meinl makes the one that I use, but I've also used I think it's Rhythm Tech made one, the kind that I used to use.
Yeah.
They're called crashers, not a
Yeah.
crash, but a crasher. And that's, yeah, stacks of metal, and they just make a really quick
Yeah.
sound. A lot of times, a lot of Latin drumming, they
Yeah.
tend to use that in. So, if it's Afro-Cuban music, or a lot of Brazilian type stuff, I mean, like where there's drum set players, they'll incorporate these things, or other percussionists will incorporate that into their sound. But I think it works great for electronic and industrial music too.
It does.
And I'll be honest, with the Ribbon Crasher thing, I was really inspired. This is when they were first around. I hadn't seen them
They stopped. They
much, and
stopped. They
there's a
stopped making them. Just so you know, they don't make them anymore. They
oh, they
stopped.
don't.
No,
Okay, well, that's a
because of
shame.
you, I had to go to eBay and finally find someone who had a pair that I bought because they stopped making them. Yeah.
Yeah, they are hard to come by. It's crazy because they make such a cool sound. I mean, yeah, there are ways to custom do this. So if you want to
Yeah.
just, but I mean, they might not be as tight and compact. I like mine placed right near my hi-hat and my snare drum. It's just this little stack of metal. Um, and then the mic from miking my snare or my hi-hat picks up the
Oh,
sound. And
wow.
usually, yeah, usually they, whoever is doing engineering will see that it's there, and they'll know, like, okay, this guy's going to hit that thing, so we need to make sure the mic placement captures that sound too. I love them. I can't imagine touring without them. And if they are going extinct, then I'll probably have to buy a few. I mean, I do have a custom one as well too, but it's pretty heavy duty. I'll say that. I've got it in storage somewhere, but it's so damn loud, honestly. Like that this custom one. I mean, it sounds sick,
Wow.
but it is kind of big too. So I like the Meinl one because it is so compact. And the only problem is, when you're hitting it, they're kind of grooved, the metal, so your stick might swing off to the side. So you have to kind of hit the drum like in a way that you wouldn't normally hit a drum, because often you want that rebound and you're trying to, like, you know, uh, your hand is just pretty much there to kind of control the movement of the stick going all over the place. But
Yeah.
with this, you really have to, like, you kind of have to use bad technique a little bit the way I'm hitting it, in order to kind of make sure the stick doesn't fly off in another direction because of those little grooves that they have in
Yeah.
the metal. Anyway, yeah, I'm kind of going way off, but that's what I do. And yeah,
So
the hybrid kit's
inspiring.
cool.
Yeah.
I usually come up with the idea with whoever I'm working with because I've done hybrid kits for a few bands. Frontline Assembly and IAMX are mostly the ones that want to do a lot of the experimenting
Okay.
with the hybrid kit. Now other bands that I work with, I'll be primarily acoustic and then bring in a few electronic elements. But with both IMX and Frontline Assembly, I've gone heavy on the electronic side and lighter on the acoustic. But with all these other you know components, like this, like a beer keg or like a
Yeah.
stack or a ribbon crasher.
I have a question,
Yeah,
another
yeah.
question regarding uh, that setup and other setups with Mortis. Of course, you had what looked like a timpani, but am I correct to say that on your shows you kind of have different drum setups for each band you do? You don't have the same kit. It's always do you sketch it out? It's always visually stunning, minimal, and it's awe inspiring. How do you? I mean, you got 3 shows coming up, and I bet you that every show is going to have a different Jon Siren look to the kit. How are you doing
Oh
this? Are
yeah.
you sketching it out? How are you doing this? Making these
Yeah, I mean,
choices?
yeah. I mean, well, it depends. I mean, the Mortis gig, at least the one that I did last year when we were out with Mayhem, I mean, we were focused on his early dungeon synth material that he put out in the 90s. So yeah, it was more like, I had these massive concert toms that are kind of like timpani, so they don't
Yeah,
have the bottom head though.
yeah,
And so, we had a 20, an 18, and a 16. And then I had my snare drum and then a crash cymbal for that. That was
yeah,
the drum kit. There was no, but if you listen to the music, yeah, there's not. It's very minimalist percussion, and it was more like we were doing classical music,
yes,
so to speak. So I mean, just the approach was totally different. It wasn't backbeat music where you could dance to it or anything. I mean, and the meter was all over the damn place. So it wasn't like
yeah,
everything wasn't, these songs weren't always in 4/4 or
yeah.
even for long periods of time. They were the meter was pretty abstract. So I mean, it was a lot of, even if I was playing a very minimalist thing, there was just so much counting and you know
Incredible,
listening to all
incredible
these.
stuff.
Yeah, so so that was a challenging gig in that sense. It wasn't challenging in the sense of, oh wow, I'm blowing all these crazy chops on a drum set, but just where where the placement of every hit was so important. Havard, he is
Yeah.
Mortis, that's his name, and he and I discussed all this ahead of time, and then I have a few endorsements. So I
Oh,
do work with a few companies, and Spawn gave us the shells, and
I
we
was
were
going
like
to ask you
we
about
don't
that.
we don't want to
Yeah.
do it. Yeah, like we're not doing. We don't want you to do anything or finish things, but if you could just get us the shells, and then we'll take it from
Nice.
there. So the he and I had arts and crafts day where
Wow.
we design where we kind of design the look of the
Yes.
drums.
Beautiful.
So
Beautiful. Yes. Yeah.
so yeah,
Wow.
and that was a lot of fun. And but for the upcoming Mortis tour, it's going to be a little bit different because
Sure.
we're focused on he's got 3 eras of music, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
If you follow
I
Mortis
do.
and what he's all about, he's
Yeah.
this we're going to focus on era 2.
Okay.
Era 2 is Smell of Rain,
Yeah.
that album, and The Great Deceiver and stuff like that. So this is more dark wave industrial.
Metal ribbon stuff. You can bring
There's
out your metal ribbon.
Met, I will actually. There is a couple of songs where I'm going to be using it. Not as much
Yeah.
as some of these other bands, but I do have to share a kit on that tour. It's already been
Wow. I was
discussed.
going to ask you
But
about that. Wow.
so I'm going to we're touring with a black metal band called
Wow.
Uwada, and they, in a lot of the black metal and death metal bands, they tend to use, multiple rack toms and floor toms. So I mean, it's going to be a
Oh,
pretty big kit. It's going to be a very metal looking kit.
wow.
So I'll be not even. I mean, I've just looked at photos of this guy's kit to see what it is that I'm going to be behind, and so I've been kind of practicing with extra toms and that sort of thing to get ready for it because. Yeah, there's a few moments. There's a lot of toms in these songs. So I've always played minimalist kits, and
Yeah,
a lot of the band leaders that I work with, especially Chris, and when I worked with Tim Skold, they liked these punk rock kind of minimalist looking
yeah,
kits, like even just one tom. Like they
yeah,
just want something to be like, you know, they just want a lot less on stage because they just like that look. And I
yeah,
and I like the minimalist look as well too. And I'm always
yeah,
impressed by um, drummers that can get the job done without having all this extra stuff.
yeah. I
Unless of course they're utilizing it, which then okay, well that's the job. You need all those toms and those cymbals.
That's
So
back when I remember when I was doing the club scene and stuff, it was a nightmare when you have to share a kit and like jump, if you're opening up for another band, you got to use the headliners, the club house band's kit, and it's you never know how the tuning's always different, the setup's always different.
right.
It's challenging, so it's very smart that you're preparing yourself ahead of time with the
Oh
the
yeah.
toms.
Well, I'm lucky. Don from New Skeletal Faces is he's letting me use his kit right now, and he's got all the additional toms and whatnot. So I'm I basically have what I'll be using, but there'll even be more. So uh, I think I'll be okay though.
Yeah, yeah,
Because as long as I have what I need up there, that's cool.
yeah,
And any more is just sort of like, okay, well, I'll just hit this other voice here occasionally. So I'm
yeah,
sure I'll be learning a bit on the job on that tour.
yeah.
And the drummer from Iwata, he seems like a cool dude. We'll I never want to mess with people's settings too much. When in these situations where you have to share a kit, it can be daunting a little
Yeah.
bit because, yeah, if someone likes their heads really loose or really tight or something different, it affects your playing. Or if they like heights different and they don't want you to really mess with things too much, I find it good to then jump around or move your settings. I'm even messing with my pedal settings and so
Okay.
forth a lot while I'm at home
Wow.
because yeah, there's so many situations in the real world where you have to just get behind something and make it happen, and that can really throw you off your game. I guess the only thing I could compare it to is if you ride bicycles, if you get on someone else's bike, I mean the seat height might be different, or
Yeah.
maybe the bike is just taller. It's a
Yeah.
bike for a tall person, not a short person, and yeah, so you got to adjust to like, oh, this is weird. Okay, I can't do certain things the way that I was doing it. So yeah, anyway, it's an important thing because I've definitely been on a job. I mean, actually I had to use two totally different kits with different
Wow.
setups just recently. Just last weekend with Pschlon Nine, I was
Wow.
borrowing drum sets from two of the other bands each night, and they had some wild setups. I mean, stuff that I wasn't used to, and like cymbals way up here, and I was like, oh my god, like I'm not, I like things close by, and so instead of like, I mean, I'm sure it looks cool, like hitting way up
Yeah.
there, but
You're a very animated player, so I mean it definitely works for you. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, but
Yeah.
if the music's got some technical stuff, it's like, okay, I
Yeah.
got to be really aware of
Yeah.
that. So, and I don't
Yeah.
want to mess with all this stuff because, yeah, they're the ones letting me borrow it. But anyway, yeah, I don't mean to go too deep into
This
all
is
that.
this is a great drum conversation, man. What are your feelings about triggers? Do you use triggers? I know Charlie Benante with Anthrax has been all pro triggers since he's mimicking the Pantera sound.
Yeah.
What are your feelings about triggers? Do you use them? What are your feelings? Because when I say triggers, I mean triggering an acoustic drum to sound differently than I guess how it would normally sound for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak for all the drummers that use them and what they're going for, but what I'll say is I love triggers and I use them typically in addition to the acoustic drum sound.
Interesting.
So I do use triggers for some
Where,
of the
John?
bands.
Where do you use them on the bass drum, on the snare? Where do you implicate them?
Ba- Yeah, I mean, with IMX, at least on the tour I'm about to do and what I just did, because things have been changing so much. I have a trigger on my bass drum. I have a trigger on my snare drum.
Okay.
I don't have anything on the toms. I find it a little bit unnecessary to trigger toms. But kick and snare, you can get a really different sound or a hybrid sound by using the triggers. And it's really up to the sound person to blend it in such a way to make it really nice. But with IMX, yeah, I mean, he wants a different sounding kick and snare. I mean, sometimes it almost doesn't even sound like a snare, like some of the sounds that I'm hitting with, I mean, you'll get the snare sound in there that I'm using,
Yeah.
but a couple songs that I can think of, the trigger sound is a little bit different because I'm switching kits, kits meaning like the sound bank for that particular
Yeah.
song, like including the pads. So sometimes a pad that I might hit, it might just be an extra tom for me, but it might be something else. In one case,
Yeah.
it's even a hi hat. So it goes from being a tom to a hi hat to like all these other weird sounds that just make sense for a particular
Sure.
song.
Very, very
So,
super cool.
so I embrace the technology. I think it's all good. You got to use the tools that you need for the job. Yeah.
John, with the tuning, I told you that I noticed it was very tight at that IM,
Ah,
and it worked perfectly. But would you say, generally speaking, your tuning of your drums, you like to keep it tight like that, not too much resonance, and leave it for the room, for the acoustics of the room? Was that usual your sound, a tight tuning?
well, um, and again, this definitely goes from situation to situation and the types of drums. Now, that drum kit I had was a micro kit, so the depths of all those drums were a lot more shallow.
Yeah.
So the kick drum, for instance, it actually has a little bit of body, and same with the floor tom. Even though we're talking, they're only 6 inches deep, which is very shallow. So where I'm going with all that is my sound with that band is they like a dry,
Interesting.
kind of attack sound. They don't want a lot of resonance. And
Yeah.
I think it's because, we're blending,
Yeah.
I've got these
All
things triggered
kinds of
too. So we're
stuff. Yeah.
blending all sorts of stuff. So we don't want all of those additional tones. So, I'll even stuff the bass drum a little bit, and I'll deaden the floor tom too.
Wow.
He doesn't want a lot of rings. So I mean, it sounds like I'm hitting wet cardboard if you're like right up to it, but when you mic it, it actually sounds pretty cool, I think.
It does.
And I like it for those. I mean, I'm always like, if people are right next to the kit, I'm thinking, okay, you're gonna get a really weird version of the sound because you're not hearing it as much from the front of house.
Yeah.
But because up front you're hearing me hitting pads and
Yeah.
then like an acoustic drum, so it might sound just out of balance
Yeah.
to a person if they're right next to me or something like that. But through
The
the
sweet
PA, when
spot's
you
always
blend
at a
it,
distance. The sweet
yeah,
spot's
exactly.
always. Yeah.
It's funny too because like a lot of people will if they film the show and then I see the footage, it's usually from like the front row, but it's like the stuff that I like to then post is actually when people record from
Wow.
like farther
Wow.
off, in the
Yeah.
distance, because then they're getting the sound a lot better than like right
Point.
up front. I mean, they're getting the energy visually of like right up
Yes.
front, but I'm always like, it's kind of like when you watch a band that you like sometimes from side stage, especially a band that involves a lot
Yes.
of electronics, it can sound just very unbalanced and strange because
Yeah.
people want what they want in their monitors too. And
Yeah.
oftentimes with these types of bands, nobody wants my drums in their monitors.
Yeah.
So you might not be hearing things in the same way as you would in the front of house,
Yeah. Now,
So
now that you bring up monitors, I wanted to ask you. I've heard you speak about in-ear monitors before, and I was shocked because you play small venues often. And but do you still use in-ear monitors? Number one, and number two, what would you tell me about the pros and cons? Because I've heard positive and I've heard negative, where people are scared that it could blow out their eardrum if there's extreme feedback. You could actually, damage your eardrum. What are your feelings about in-ear monitors, and stage monitors?
yeah, I mean, okay, so it really, first of all, it really depends on what's coming into your mix. So that's a huge, if you're a singer, I know singers don't like it because of that feedback, because they typically want to hear what's in their microphone. And me with the drums, what I tend to choose, I have a really strange way of doing things. So with my in-ear monitors, what I'm getting is because a lot of this music is done with a click track, because we have synced up to lights and
Yeah,
video and
yeah,
and all this stuff. So I'm on a click. So I'm getting a click, and I'm
wow,
getting very minimalist stuff. Like I'll have some of my
wow,
electronics in my ears. So I don't want vocals or a lot of other live instrumentation unless I'm doing it myself in
wow.
my in-ear monitors, because um, I've certainly had it where, and I won't call anyone out, but like a singer, for instance, might
Go.
come in at the wrong time, and then me as the drummer knowing like, oh shit, this isn't like,
That's
hey,
great.
we're not doing this like a punk band where we can just kind of
Great.
like adjust all together.
Yeah.
Like there's things that will happen in sequences that will fire off at certain times. So uh I'm trying to make this make sense to the lay person who might not understand all this, but anyway, I've got to keep it together basically, no matter what, because the
Yeah.
singer's going to eventually in that song realize, oh wow, I did something wrong, or they'll just look back at me like, what the hell did you do? And you get that a lot too, where they give you a sour look, and you're like, hey man, I'm playing where we're supposed to be. But my point is, if I'm hearing all of that in my ears, it can throw me off, and I don't want to be
Oh,
thrown off. So I don't mind. I can hear enough of, like, say, vocals
yeah.
or guitar or keys or whatever that's being played live. I
Yeah.
can hear all that stuff sort of in the ambient sound of the room in their monitor mixes. So I don't tend to use that. I think with different styles of music, having a bit more of all that in a monitor mix, and maybe it's just a floor wedge at that time. But you can run into that problem too. It's like something I've had, like maybe you're doing a throw and go set where you don't have much time to sound check, and they're not giving me a custom mix in my floor wedge monitor because I have that going too with its own custom
Wow.
mix. So I'm a little bit weird.
Wow.
I'm a little
So you do a hybrid
precious.
of monitors, actually. You're a
Yep,
hybrid.
I'm a little
Wow.
precious with this. I mean, if I have the
Wow.
opportunity, then I'm going to customize it the way that I like to. But I'm
Wow.
I'm I'm able to adapt. They could even be like, "You don't get any monitors," and I'll be like, "That's fine." I like them
Whoa.
because it will help me, in a lot of ways, and I can feel the music more. Like I want to feel my kick
Yeah.
drum, and that bass just hitting
Yeah.
right back at me. Uh, I want to feel that because it's going to change my vibe of playing.
Yeah.
But if push came to shove, or if you're in some dinky room or whatever that doesn't have an elaborate setup,
Yeah.
then I just deal with whatever's there.
Yeah.
I think you got to adapt. But I don't know if I guess maybe I answered the question,
You
but
you 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 answered it more than I even expected, just because you're using a hybrid way of approaching monitors, and it's very interesting, and you almost want to feel the vibrations and the decibels of the sound, with these wedges, as you have in-ear monitors. That said,
right.
and I want to talk later about this, the physical aspects of drumming. But do you fear hearing loss, and how do you protect yourself from potential hearing loss, since you're dealing with so much music all the time, so much in your ear? How do you protect yourself?
I mean, it's honestly an occupational hazard that I think many drummers who play loud music. I mean, drums are loud to begin with, but when you're on these stages, and if there's side fills, those are additional monitors that are general, that just kind of they come in from the side like that.
Yeah.
I've been where my ear, even with, because I have custom in-ear monitor molds, so they're supposed to
Sure.
protect you from some of the outside. But I've had
Okay.
stuff blasting so loud beyond my control because like maybe
Wow.
a singer wants it at a certain level, and the speaker's maybe about a foot or two away from my head. That yeah, I mean it's there's been moments where I've been in situations and I have to like just sort of meditate through the situation. I mean, the crowd doesn't really know this because they're not really seeing, behind the curtain, so to speak, of what we might be experiencing with weird sounds and all that kind of stuff, or volume uh, levels that are punishing. But I mean, I've definitely experienced that where, yeah, then, if it's in between songs, you might be able to yell at the monitor guy, like, turn that down now, or bring it down, or something like that. Whoever's running monitors, you can, but yeah, I mean, if something goes wrong or in a funky way while you're on stage, I
Yeah.
mean, you got to get through the song. I mean, I can't stop playing just because I'm
Yeah.
getting blasted in such a way that I
Yeah.
could tell is going to give me tinnitus.
Right.
I got to finish out the song.
Yeah. Yeah. So
So there is
so
an occupational hazard to a lot of this. I mean,
wow.
to be honest, I don't walk around with constant tinnitus or anything, but I do have a difficult time hearing people, and especially if I'm at a club and there's other background noises and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Do you get
yeah, I'm
yourself?
not. I mean, I'm
Do
a
you
little
test
hard at.
yourself? Do you get yourself tested or no?
No, I mean, I just, yeah, I haven't tried to do anything like that. I'm almost
Yeah.
not sure I want to know.
Wow. Wow.
I don't want to know that I'm like I've
Contrary,
lost a
hey
certain.
John, very contrary to the philosophy of your book, The Touring Vegan. That's like on the other side. You don't even want to know. It's kind of like what you took because in your book you kind of make a very strong point, particularly at the end where some of these, and we'll talk about that later, but like health choices, the effect it can have on us, you should take precautions early on because
Sure.
and it's kind of like the opposite. But what's interesting also is your passion for music and drumming. I get it, man. It's like, you know what? I don't even want. I'll
Yeah.
deal when the time comes. I'll deal with that tinnitus. Very interesting.
Yeah, these are just adult. I call them just adult decisions. I mean, we're going to do certain
Interesting.
things that are maybe not aligned. Like, say, if you're trying to live a very healthy lifestyle, I think sometimes you compromise things. You're
Yeah.
like I'm aware. Like, for instance, I live in a very big city with poor air quality. I mean, anytime I
Yeah.
look at the weather on my phone, it always says air quality outside moderate or harmful to people of certain,
Wow.
health,
Wow.
you know, whatever. So that being said, we sometimes have to, I guess, weigh things out in life.
Sure.
Is it worth doing this? I mean, this is going to be something that could cause some problems. I mean, I dye my hair. I'm almost positive there's
Interesting.
dye getting,
I see
it's,
what
yeah,
you mean.
I'm a
I see,
blonde, so I
I see
mean,
what you
I do
mean.
things that I would probably are not completely healthy and aligned with everything. Because I mean, but yet what I eat half the time is generally healthy. I
Yes.
don't mess around with the food. Um, Water is my main beverage. Just, I mean, there's certain beliefs that I have.
Yes.
And food and what you drink is something that happens a little bit more regularly than some of this other stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm real particular with those
Yes.
types of things.
Yeah.
But yet I do things that are, I guess, hypocritical in that sense. Like I'm
I,
not a
I, I would
complete.
not I would not say hypocritical. It's just a whole different dimension of your life is what that is.
Yeah, yeah. To me, having sweet black hair is just,
But
as far as the look or whatever. It's just kind of the. that to me, it was worth the potential. I mean, I don't know. I would imagine that this, there's got to be something carcinogenic in these chemicals that I'm putting on my hair every day. There's got to, I mean, not every day, but you know what I mean, like every
Yeah, yeah,
month or whatever when I
yeah,
dye my hair. But
yeah.
um, so 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 yeah, I'm not a purist completely, but I do believe that we should make the best attempt at living a healthy life just for the sake of enjoying your life and
So,
not be.
so here, a very
Yeah.
positive. I want to make sure because while we're on the health thing, a very positive thing that also blows my mind is when you play your posture. You have such incredible posture. Is this
Stand
is
up now.
this is this is this deliberate? Because with your posture, you're doing like Tommy Lee is like a crawfish, right? His back, my back, But you have like you probably don't have any sign of osteoporosis at all. Your posture when you play but you're still very loose. You're all over the place. You're very visual, but you keep your back straight. Is this because you used to be a swimmer as per your book, or I mean, why do you maintain this incredible posture as you play?
I don't know. I'm gonna have to thank my mom for that one. She
Oh,
was always one of those people that was like, throw
oh
those
wow,
shoulders back if she
oh
saw me
wow.
hunched over. I mean, I'm guilty of hunching, like even doing this, but part of it too is just trying to fit in the frame here. Yeah, I mean, posture is very important. There's a lot of drummers that run into some serious
Yeah,
issues, and
yeah,
I've been very, very, very lucky
yeah.
that I have not run into any sort of tendonitis or other issues that sometimes will plague drummers, and that's usually due to or spine issues. Often if people sit too low, they can run into spine issues. I've heard, and I've tried sitting low. I don't like that, but there's clearly incredible drummers out there that have done it or still do it. Um, so yeah, I mean, I'm trying to work with gravity as best as possible, and trying to not
That's
move in
great.
such a way that would injure me. I mean, it's the same, like,
Yeah,
I'm very much into working out, and so I lift, I use dumbbells and things like that. And yeah, you want some decent form. You don't want to just, if you're picking something up from the ground, like kind of like doing a deadlift, you want to make sure your back is straight. You
yeah,
don't want to be all, kind of hunched over and then do something and then try to, because yeah, I mean, you're more like, or kind of lean to a side and pick something up. I mean, yeah, then you're more likely to hurt yourself, or potentially, not
you know,
always, but it just takes one little funky move,
yes, you know,
and yeah, you could, you know,
you know,
pinch something back there.
yes, Tommy Lee. You were into the '80s MTV. I'm sure you were into Motley Crue
Sure, yeah, yeah, of
back
course.
back in the day. And when
Hmm.
with he was the epitome of stick twirling. I mean, he was so. I mean, you remind me of him a lot with your visual. And he got this thing called. I'm trying to pronounce it. Dupuytren's contracture. Did you know that? That's why he can't twirl anymore. He has this
Oh, dang.
weird scar tissue thing that has to be removed from his palm. He can't twirl sticks. He's had
Oh,
all these multiple surgeries. So as drummers, there's so much there's so much damage that we can do with not yourself. I think you're doing everything the right way, but I mean it's a very physical instrument, right? Mick Brown from Dokken, he can't play anymore because of his back. I mean,
yeah.
so many of the guy Chris Adler from Lamb of God. He got this with his foot, dystonia, where the muscles just don't stop spazzing on his right foot. That's why
Oh
he can't
man.
lead the band. Yeah. So it's a very. I think it's. I mean, you're taking all the right precautions with your diet and going to the gym. Um,
Yeah, I mean, and it becomes very real when, yeah, you see your heroes or people that are just
yeah,
absolutely incredible all of a sudden not being able to
yeah,
do what it is that they're
yeah,
so great at. I mean, it kind of makes me really sad to think about that, because um yeah, I mean, these people dedicated their lives to that instrument, and
yeah,
it is a total dedication when you do this sort of thing. So yeah, I mean, I'm fortunate enough to have um come to that conclusion that your
Yeah.
health, your physical, your mental health, all that kind of stuff is so crucial to having longevity in this field.
Yes.
Um, if and when I decide I don't want to do this, I want it to be just that. I want it to be a decision that I'm making because, hey, I think I've done the thing that I wanted to do,
Yes.
and now it's time to try something different in life. But I don't want uh, something that could have been prevented to cause me to have to end all of this
Yeah.
before I'm ready,
Yeah.
so to speak.
John, I have a question about the music scene in general. And I want to bring up Gene Simmons actually twice. And one of the times I want to bring him up is he famously has said multiple times that rock music is dead. Although what you're doing is very underground and not particularly rock, it's still in the family of a rock of a
Sure.
tree. And do you feel, when I go to a lot of these shows with the kind of bands that you play with, and particularly with black metal bands and death metal bands, I disagree with that statement. I think the fan base is so loyal and so strong that they are able to create full albums rather than singles and try to promote things. So, just what is your feeling? What is your feeling about the music rock scene? And do you think just basically do you feel it's still thriving? Are you concerned that music is dying because of all of this techno rap stuff that's going on, or not the case? Do you feel very confident and comfortable in this area that you've chosen for yourself as a drummer?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I think, I mean, ever since I've gotten into this, people have been saying that rock is dying or dead, and all things adjacent to it, I suppose. Which I kind of fall into all those. I'm under the rock tree.
Yeah.
I'm one of the various branches.
Yeah,
What I
sure.
do. Anyway,
Definitely.
anyway, do I think it's dead? Um,
Or are you concerned?
I
Are you
don't think.
concerned that it's going in that area? Because you're right there. You're in
Uh,
the field. You're
yeah,
getting a
I mean,
lot of
I've had
gigs.
moments, but sometimes this has more to do with variables that are beyond our control. Uh, for instance, there's time periods where there's less people going to shows. I mean, I know
Huh.
right now people are a little bit concerned about money. I mean,
Wow.
people are always concerned about money.
Wow.
But so I feel like turnouts in some situations haven't been as great because there's a lot of bands going out there. So and shows are kind of expensive, and
Yeah.
part of that is because it's very expensive to put on a show. It's not because everyone's just lining, there's like three or
Yeah.
four people lining their pockets with, hundreds of thousands of dollars or whatnot. It's there's a lot of people involved in getting even a small show together, and
Sure.
um, renting a venue. I mean, I won't get into all those
Sure.
logistics, but I'm sure people could figure this stuff out if they choose to. Um, okay. That being said, there are less people, I think, as a whole
Yeah.
going out. Like I noticed a little bit of a dip in attendance
Interesting.
this past year. I mean, even though I'm working like crazy, I've
Yes.
noticed but I don't think that means that rock is dead or it's less popular. And the thing is, that's actually kind of interesting. I assumed as I got older, and I play with older bands as well too. I play, when I play with Frontline Assembly, I grew up listening to
Yeah.
Frontline Assembly.
Crazy.
I grew up listening to Information Society. They're another band. I fill in with them. I'm not their main
Crazy.
drummer, but these are bands that I grew up listening to, and they still have a lot of people coming out. And my assumption was that, rock and roll in general was a young person's game. It was teenagers and 20-year-olds, because that, when people are figuring out who buys the most concert tickets or who spends the most on music, record companies knew that it was okay. It's teenagers and people, college kids or kids in their early 20s, and then after that, people drop off because they're going to have families and do other
Yeah.
things. But that's not the case that I've noticed. I mean, sure, some people are going to drop off. They're going to have different priorities. And maybe maybe the music I was doing only fit during a certain time period of their life. But I'm noticing people that grew up loving going to shows as a form of entertainment still love going to shows,
Yeah.
including even going in, like if it's a heavier band, even in the mosh pit. I'm seeing people with gray hair stage diving, and I like so it's I feel like it's alive and well in that
Yeah.
sense. So I don't fear it ending anytime soon,
Yeah.
but I also say that with some reservation because I never anticipated the record industry kind of caving in on itself the way that it did in the early 2000s. I didn't
Yeah.
foresee MP3s and Napster and Spotify and all this stuff that happened and became the way of the future,
Yeah.
and then physical music, CDs, records, being sort of a dinosaur at
Yeah.
that point. I mean, people obviously still want that sort of thing. There's nostalgia, and I get it, and that's great, but it's not like it isn't enough to support a lot of
Yeah.
artists. It's just like another little merch item that they can maybe sell if people want a tangible copy of music rather than just streaming it somewhere.
Yeah.
So anyway, I didn't foresee things to go the way that it did with music. As I was getting to that age of, okay, I'm getting out there as a professional. Oh wait, there is no record industry anymore. This is all caving in.
Yeah.
And so that's part of the reason why I'm a touring drummer, because that was something that never went away, and more
Yeah.
bands started touring. Bands that wouldn't tour as much at all were like, well, if we're going to um, try to earn a living doing this, we're going to have to hit the road, because
Yeah.
that's where people they want to see it live. They need that live experience. They want to
Yes.
see us in the flesh doing it with all the little things that could go wrong or go
Yes.
right or whatever. They
Yes.
want the chaos. And I get it. I
Yes.
grew up with the chaos of a live show, and
Yeah.
you're kind of scared. You're in the pit. You don't know what's going to happen,
Yeah.
when that band hits the stage or anything. And it's an exciting feeling. So I think live music is still important. I think rock and roll is not dead. And I mean, styles of music evolve and change. Sure, other forms of music where people go to the shows, the might be more popular now.
Yeah.
Um, I know hip hop's been popular for quite some time. It's probably more popular than rock, but
Yeah.
uh, I don't think that rock is dead. I think people are still wanting this, which is great.
Yeah.
So, but
Last
there
year
are but there
I
are moments, just with people conserving more money, and maybe I'm just speaking for myself, where it's like, maybe I can only go to this show but not that show as well, because I need to make sure that I'm cool with money. So
yeah.
I get that. Maybe they can't hit every single gig they want to go to,
Yeah.
but that's just life in general and our choices with time and everything else.
Yeah, John, I think that's what makes what you're doing, the choices you make with the different drum kits, very special, because anybody who follows you as a drummer and as a musician never know what to expect at whatever particular other show or band you're playing with. Like, you're doing this new Mortiis thing. Very looking forward to it, because I don't want to know yet what this new kit's going to look like. I remember those three Tom timpani things that looked like they came straight out of a dungeon or some kind of cave. The skin of
Excellent.
that was crazy. Sunset Strip, I imagine for you, that's like kind of like a metaphor for what we're talking about, right? Because they're trying to bring back the whiskey now. If you notice, they're having all these '80s bands playing every week at the whiskey, like Bullet Boys and all these bands. Who's this other
Right.
band? Yeah, Missing Persons. I guess they're doing a fundraiser over there. But yeah, but there's no better feeling than going to a live show. Like last year, I saw this from Mayhem. Attila does this Tormentor thing, and he did it in this little dive in Brooklyn, and it was the coolest thing to go to a small little venue, or even someone like John Carpenter. He does his movie soundtracks, and he'll go to these small little places, and it's just the coolest thing to go to live shows. There's nothing like
Oh
it.
yeah.
There's nothing like it.
And that guy's awesome. He lives it. He's from the times I've talked to him, and been around him, it's like, I mean, he is an authentic
Yeah,
artist. I have a lot of respect for that guy.
yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
um,
So
yeah.
the other thing about Gene Simmons, as a drummer, I wanted to ask you. He recently, about 2 weeks ago, he made a comment. Kiss had won this award, and Ace Frehley had just passed away. But Peter Criss did go to get this presidential award thing, and afterwards, Gene Simmons made a comment that drummers aren't really musicians. That it's not really an instrument, and I wanted to
Okay.
hear and I've heard so I don't want to say names, but certain guitar players have said that and I hope some of them who know me will watch this because I think it's to me it's very disturbing that they would think that. But and then my argument, I always try to find an argument. A first argument would be like. Van Halen, that the Tone Loc in the '90s did that song "Wild Thing," and they used a
Hmm.
soundbite from Jamie's crying Van Halen. They had to, inevitably, they had to pay a lump sum to Van Halen. I think it was $180,000, and then they had to give them credit on the song so they can get royalties. Which you
Yeah.
remember this this is a melodic beat. That said, what is your take on drums as an instrument, or you, and do you see yourself as a drummer, or do you see yourself more as a percussionist, which is how Bill Ward would call himself, or some people would call themselves percussionists? Do you see yourself as a drummer? How would you define yourself, and what was your response to a comment like that about it not being an
Well,
instrument?
well, I guess to start, I mean, Gene Simmons. I love Kiss, so I'm not about to throw shade, but you know, he's, he likes pushing buttons.
Yeah,
I mean, it's rock. I mean, I think that's part of his concept
stick.
of rock and roll is just kind of is like, yeah, I mean, he likes to say things that are controversial or
Yeah.
and whatnot and get a rise out of people. And so when I hear it, I just kind of laugh and I go, all right, like I'm not even offended in the least bit. I just think it's just kind of funny. I mean, it's just, it's a funny thing to say. That's it,
But John, it's a
So,
funny
but
thing.
do I think it's,
Right. Do you still think you're playing an instrument? It's funny because you do
yeah,
believe
yeah,
that.
of
Yeah.
course, of course.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a cog in the wheel, just like a bass or a guitar or anything else. I mean, we're all together
Yeah.
generating a sound that you're going to hear,
Yes.
and we need all those elements. And so I'm just as important as the person next to me doing it. So I
Yes.
don't. So yeah, I would completely disagree with the statement, but I just think it's funny because it's like, yeah, I mean, this is. I mean, what it's to be expected from Gene to make a
Yeah.
comment like that. So
Yeah.
I'm not offended at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
The I looked at your YouTube channel, and early on I had seen you did a lot of these play along videos. Super
right.
cool. Did you back when you were learning how to play drums or beginning to play drums? Did you used to? Because I used to get these. Remember those videos called drum licks, where Carmine Apiece and Randy
Okay.
Castillo? Did you ever get those videos where they show you how to play like certain things, and then you have a close up of your foot? Anyway, tell me about these play along videos. Is really what I'm
Right.
getting at, which I love.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, for sure. Okay, so that all happened for me mostly during the pandemic when everything,
Oh,
kind of
okay,
flipped upside down. So I haven't done anything like that in quite some time.
okay,
I only did that during 2020 and maybe a little bit of 2021. Because yeah, all of a sudden I was without work and as the rest of us were, and I was like, okay, you know what? Maybe I'll do some of these playthrough videos and I'll use this time to learn some music that
that's cool.
just different styles, kind of challenge myself, try a few different things. And uh yeah, I mean, even one of those drum playthrough videos got me a gig. I mean, as soon as the tour went
Wow,
out, I mean, I only did one tour with her, but it
wow,
was this. She's a rapper. Her name's Dana Dentata, and I know I did
wow.
a tour with her in the UK. We did a few festivals, but it was because I did a playthrough video of one of her songs, and then that's how we connected. And I did that because one of my friends was like, "Oh, you got to check this girl out. She's really cool." And I was like, yeah, I'll throw that into the mix as far as,
Incredible.
as far,
Crazy.
and because I was like, okay, it's a cool song. And then, so that all happened. Just did the one tour, but yeah, we did that. And, yeah, I mean, I was doing other songs too. I started doing like kind of breaking down music that I play, uh, you know, with some of these bands, so if it was like Frontline Assembly songs or Pschlon Nine songs or whatever group, I would maybe do some playthroughs of that. But then I also chose stuff that I was like, oh, this is a neat song that I want to challenge myself to. Like, I think I took a Dimmu Borgir song because I was like, okay, I want to do something with some crazy blast beats and what
Wow.
have you. So why don't we do that? So I
Wow.
did one of those too, and
When you
yeah, I mean, it was probably very primitive compared to what people can do now with these drum videos. I mean, I didn't have like a crazy elaborate
I
mic
loved it. It's
setup,
great. It's
or
perfect. It's
but it was
perfect.
just, it was very punk rock. It was just, it
Great.
was something to do. And actually it's a good tool to record yourself like that, because then you can kind of see,
Yeah.
I mean, the camera does not lie. So you'll see where you're flawed in your playing. Like I'll be like, oh geez, I can tell because that sounds kind of stiff. I gotta loosen up the shoulder here and like breathe more, because
Yeah.
maybe you're doing something and that's something that people will do. They'll start to lift their shoulders up and you know and you're gonna get the best sound out of the kit, and when you're the most relaxed.
Yeah.
So even if you're doing stuff where maybe visually you're trying to appear more tense because you just want, because it adds to the intensity of the song, you still, I guess, it's a parlor trick on some level. You still want to remain relaxed for the most part,
Yeah.
because you're going to get the best sound, and you got to be a little bit loose. But sometimes if I'm making some big crazy movement, it's more like, I mean, yeah, there is an animalistic side to that, but also, uh, yeah, I'm still relaxed as I'm doing it. It's
Yeah.
not like something where I'm just, yeah,
Yeah.
hammering it out, in a way like,
Yeah.
anyway.
And in every one of the videos I saw, you could show your mom what great posture you have because you show off. You just got that straight back, man. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that just happens the moment I start doing the thing. I mean,
Wow.
it's funny because I feel like I slouch more when I'm just kind of hanging around, but yeah, like when I get behind a kit and I get going, it's just, I just kind of, that's my default setting, I
Yeah.
think. So
John, when you brought up blast beats, are you referring to blast beats like double bass? And if not, when do you use double bass? And what? Tell me a little bit about your double bass approach to double bass playing.
double bass is something that I'm constantly working on. Um, just technique in general, speed and control, all that kind of stuff. Going between something fast and something slow. I mean, you have to shift gears a lot when you're doing that. So, and you kind of notice these things as you're doing it more, and it takes quite a bit of work, to kind of to dial that stuff in. Anyway, yeah, I mean, blast beats, there's several different types of blast beats. I mean, I won't necessarily get into the ones that are there, but often a blast beat is something, it's like an onslaught of notes like that are just
Yeah.
repeated over and over. So
Yeah.
I'll give you maybe two examples. There's the
Sure.
hammer blast where the hands are kind of hammering the same thing at the same time.
Yeah.
For, non-drummers out there, it's like dun 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 dun, and done really fast. And then there's the single stroke traditional blast, which is alternating sticking da, 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 between like a hi-hat and a snare, or a ride and a snare.
Yeah.
And then with the bass drum, doing various patterns underneath that. I mean, it could be just going with the right hand on a traditional
Yeah.
blast again, or you could, be playing 16th notes where you're going between the two. So yeah, yeah, but there's several different types of blasts, but yeah, I mean, for non-drummers and drummers alike, it's an impressive, display of speed and power to watch. And so it is. I mean, even to this day, it's like, I mean, conceptually, this stuff is simple, but when it's executed in such a way, I think drummers and non-drummers alike tend to enjoy people like a good blast beat. So
Yeah,
it's not something I focus on all the time because I don't have to use it that often with the
yeah,
bands that I'm in. But um, I want to be good at it. So
yeah,
if the time comes, I mean, there's been moments where I've needed it, of course.
yeah.
There have been a few gigs I've had where, yeah, you gotta play some blast
Okay,
beats.
okay.
So I never want to be completely um, out of practice
Yeah,
doing that sort of thing. So yeah, when I'm at home, I mean, you got to just work on your hands and work on your feet and do various tempos with
yeah,
metronomes and just be very in tune with the muscle groups that are being used
yeah,
at various speeds. I mean, it's practice. It's like anything else. If you're a sprinter, it's kind of like learning how to sprint if you're a runner. I
yeah,
mean, you're going to jog, you're going to do things to boost your endurance, but then occasionally you're going to have to like, okay, we're going to go really fast and go full gas on this one and see what happens. And
yeah,
it's, yeah, it's definitely a process.
yeah.
So
Um, John, when I think of you as a drummer, my brain immediately goes to Budgie, Susie the Banshee's Budgie.
perfect, perfect.
John Densmore. I feel like
Okay.
you respect and play with the whole shell, the whole drum in and of itself, whether it's a few drums. And who would be your influences as far as like, and you've brought up, but it might just be that you like Wasp. But I mean, Steve Riley, rest in peace. Your kid's kind
Right.
of set up like Steve Riley's, but I mean, what do you? I mean, who would be your Tommy Lee would be another one back. Again, rewinding back to Shout at the Devil and theater. Your showmanship. Who would be top few drummers that you are that you admire, that you respect, that you look up to, that
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, there's quite a few. Budgie, you mentioned Budgie right out of the gate, which yeah, he is a massive influence on me.
Okay. Wow.
I just think he's one of my favorite drummers. He's so interesting, so unique. I wish I could see more of the guy playing. I know he's still doing stuff, but he doesn't do. He's not constantly.
He just wrote a book, just so you know.
Yeah, no, and I need to go pick that up actually because that would be good to read. I'm a massive fan of
Oh
Budgie.
wow.
So
So you like
um,
the creatures and all of that then,
oh
right?
yeah, I've
Yeah.
seen the Creatures. I've seen Susie and the Banshees several times back in
Yeah.
the day. Big fan.
Yeah.
Drumming. This is always a really tough one for me. My favorite drummers, kind of starting off because I had a couple of
Sure.
jazz drummer
Oh wow.
instructors, and even though I do nothing that sounds like jazz, I have a great respect and admiration for jazz drummers, and so I might as well say Jack DeJohnette, who recently died, was one of my
Yeah.
favorite jazz drummers. Him, Tony Williams, Elvin Jones, who I met before he died.
You met Elvin
Uh,
Jones. Wow.
yeah, I even had a photo with him and can't
Wow.
find it, so I'm really bummed out on that one. But I got a photo with him, and then he died maybe a month or two later. So,
Wow.
but Elvin Jones, got to see him twice
Wow.
before he died, and yeah, so I like quite a few classic, I guess, Blue Note era drummers.
Sure.
But in rock, I mean, yeah, I'm all over the map. I mean, Bill Ward, of course, has been an
Yeah.
influence of mine. All the drummers of Wasp, all the drummers who've
Yeah.
been through like Nine Inch Nails.
Sure.
Uh, yeah, the list goes on. I mean, it's there's so many people that I'm just inspired to watch them. I mean, there's so many contemporary drummers that are
Yeah.
just out of control, good and interesting to
Yeah.
watch. That there's no shortage of inspiration out there. So
Rush is an acquired taste. I'll be honest with you. I personally never got the Rush thing. I do respect their music and obviously Neil Peart. But what are your thoughts about this Rush reunion and this? He was now the person taking his place for this reunion is this. I find her to be absolutely freaking incredible. Is Anika Nils?
yeah,
What are your feelings about them going on tour with Neil Peart, who's deceased? Do you think they shouldn't do? There's people have a lot of mixed feelings about it, and
yeah,
in addition to that, they never had a very strong very minimal female following, and they got a female drummer, which is so interesting. What are your thoughts about that? If you have any thoughts about that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I like a Rush song or two, but I
Same
wouldn't
here, man.
I wouldn't
Yeah,
classify myself as like a massive fan,
yeah,
but I certainly do admire and respect the band. And as a drummer, of course, Neil Peart and yeah, I don't know, I forget how to pronounce her name, Annika Niles,
yeah.
possibly.
I think you're right. I
If
think you're
I
right.
screwed that up, then I
I think
apologize.
you're
But
right. Yeah,
she's incredible. I've known about her
incredible.
way before she was doing this because she is a clinician drummer as well as probably does session stuff for other bands. But I
Yes.
know her as a clinician drummer, and
Oh
obviously
wow.
she's fantastic, and could easily do those Neil parts. Now,
Yes.
do I think that the band should go on without Neil? Um, yeah, yeah, I do. I
Yeah.
mean, why not?
Yeah.
I don't think just because somebody in the band dies,
Yeah.
yes, it will never be the same without Neil.
You you know
Absolutely.
you know
But
the irony is Neil was not their first drummer. They had another drummer before Neil.
yeah, so I mean, even though I don't know as much of the history of it,
Yeah,
yeah. So why should
I agree with you.
Getty and Alex? I believe those are the two other guys.
Yeah,
Why should they stop doing what they do? They love to do with their life
yeah.
because one of the other guys died. I think if I was in Neil's position, I mean, they would have my blessing, so to
Blessing.
speak,
Yeah,
to
yeah,
hey, keep rocking. Obviously get
yeah,
somebody who can fill the role,
yeah,
and they did.
yeah,
From what I've heard, I haven't seen her play with them yet. No, I haven't seen any videos or what have you, but
yeah,
I think it's perfectly fine.
yeah,
It's kind of the same thing like with any other band that wants to keep going. I think just, if somebody dies, sure, it's not going to be the same.
yeah,
But do we still like these songs? Yeah. Do we still want to like, can we see them and get past the fact that one of the guys is no longer with us? Should everybody else,
yeah,
including the fans, suffer? And if you really have a strong feeling against it, then just don't go. Don't go buy a ticket. Just go watch your
yeah,
old videos of Rush in 1976 doing whatever,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and watch those videos and live in that nostalgia. Fine, whatever. I mean, but I don't think people should ever stop uh, because some
yeah,
fan who wants you to be a very specific way, says something on the internet. It's just, to me, that's ridiculous.
yeah. We're gonna get into some fun stuff, and we're almost finished. But I have to ask you, these light fixtures behind above you, this is just
Oh,
actually like that? Is because you look like you're
yeah.
inside of an art installation. Is it always like that, or
No, these are just. This was an office probably at some point. I mean, some really ratty old office, and I mean, yeah, the place is a grimy drum studio. I mean, even when I
oh
moved
cool?
into this particular place a long time ago, like the carpet was just disgusting. I mean, I live in a pretty gross place in here, this drum studio. But yeah, these are just yeah, they're fluorescent lighting, and I keep them off because fluorescent lighting is pretty gross in general.
Yeah,
And it kind of has this dirty power sound where it's just and
yeah,
I don't, I never turn those on. I mean, unless I'm needing to find something, and then it's
yeah,
just super bright in here when I do that. I'd rather just have softer lighting
yeah. Hey,
while I'm
John,
in here.
it's a
But
beautiful composition you have right now with just so you know, as an
yeah, yeah,
artist.
it's a little cramped in here, and like I
Nice.
said, I'm sharing it with another band, so there's just tons and tons of gear in here. It
Wow.
kind of looks like a storage unit almost.
Yeah.
It's it's not pretty, but it's like I'm here to get a job done, and yeah, I don't have a slick studio.
I did you
But
ever rehearse at SIR? Have you gone to SIR, and have you ever rehearsed at Studio Instrument Rentals SIR? And have you ever rented equipment like a snare or a pedal from SIR? I used to work at SIR years ago, and did you ever
yeah,
deal with SIR at all? I'm just curious. You do so much
I
touring.
I think I did. I did an audition for a band at
Okay.
SIR, I believe,
Okay.
a long time ago. So I've been in there, and I know that they have locations all over, and I've
Yeah.
certainly, when backline gear has been rented for something,
Yeah.
usually that never has to happen for me in LA, and I realize
Okay.
that this is where SIR is for the most part. But I mean, hell, even New York. I mean, I think I had to go to the SIR in Manhattan
Sure.
and pick up some stuff. Yeah, I remember. I think recently with Frontline Assembly. Yeah, I was at I believe I was at SIR picking up a bunch of floor toms
Okay.
for Frontline Assembly.
Yeah.
Not too long ago. Me and the tour manager went down there and grabbed them. So yeah, because
Cool,
it was going to save us some fee. They were going to bring some crazy fee if they were to
yeah.
that was even more expensive than the rental.
Yeah.
And we're like, fuck that. So we just
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway,
Oh, John, when you go on these tours, especially these three consecutive ones, what kind of gear do you forget about the drums? Like drum heads, drumsticks. I think you use 2B, I've heard you say before.
yep, two B's.
What do you, how much gear do you bring on the road with you? And heads, do you go through heads like crazy? Or I don't think you're doing too many rim shots. That's not, you don't do too many rim shots, correct? Am I right about that?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm not a super rim shot. I mean, I love the sound of rim shots, but man, I would go through sticks so much
Exactly.
faster if I
Exactly.
if I was whacking the rim. And
Yeah.
plus, for a lot of these groups I'm working with, with the exception of like Pschlon Nine, which is definitely like heavy, heavy stuff. But like, IMX, when you're working with like a someone who's
Melodic.
doing a melodic
Yeah.
vocal style and whatnot. It's like, yeah, I mean, he wants me to play intensely, but to try to do that with a lower volume.
Yeah.
Anyway, the rim shot's gonna, that frequency that you're gonna get is just
Yeah.
gonna punch so much harder than just hitting the center of the snare head. And
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, I don't whack the rim as much. No, to be perfectly honest.
You know what's so interesting
Uh,
about you, John? When you play, it's just your thing. But you'll hold the for the resonance. You'll hold the snare after you do some stuff. You'll always put your hand on the snare. It's very interesting. The head. I noticed that.
you
It's
know what? I've got some weird, just sort of idiosyncrasies. I don't know
cool.
because
I love.
well, there's also like I'm also tweaking. I mean,
Yeah.
one thing I notice all the time is okay, so your top hi-hat,
Yeah.
sometimes that the nut there's like two
Yeah.
nuts that kind of keep
Yeah.
that kind of hold it
Yeah.
together, and they become loose as you play them. So I'm always, if there's a
Fiddle with it
moment
a
in the
lot.
song, there's sort of
I
like,
noticed that you do
someone
that.
who has to smoke a cigarette or have something in their hand or whatever. That's my cigarette
I
kind of move. I'm
noticed.
always,
Yes.
I'm always just making sure that's nice because there's nothing worse than if you're using the hi hat with your foot and then that thing comes undone and then it's just,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
then you can't get that sound all of a sudden. So it's a weird move.
Yeah.
And then it also started with honestly, like, just visually, I felt uncomfortable with people looking at me when I was doing nothing on stage.
Oh,
And
interesting.
so I was like, geez, I got to do something because I
Interesting.
don't. So it was sort of a conscious move, but now it's just become like a thing that just happens a lot. I tweak the hi hat
No, I noticed
like
that. Yeah.
often, and I know that I do this a lot, but it's also yeah, it might have something to do with
Yeah.
just being awkward on stage, when there's a moment where I'm not occupied by the drums.
Another cool thing you do, John, that I've never seen other people do is you approach the hi hat like just at times like another crash or a ride cymbal where
Yeah.
you'll play the hi hat while you're going with the crash when you open up a show or mid show at the end of a song. Very unique. I've never seen anyone do it except you. It's very cool how you do that. And you'll stand up and you'll start playing the hat and a crash and become very visual, very with the you become one with your instruments. Very interesting how you do that.
Yeah, yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, I did that. Okay, so three of the bands I play with, they've all wanted minimalist kits at certain time periods with IMX, Gold, Frontline Assembly. And so maybe I only have one cymbal and then the
Yeah,
hi-hat. So you
yeah,
see that a lot with some of these groups. And in order to so I'm really just trying to make the most out of what's
Interesting.
there. And
Interesting.
so, yeah, it's like sometimes I don't want to lay in completely onto one crash cymbal. So I open up the hi hat and I'll do that. Or, I mean, hell, I mean, the way that I played Bernadette at the moment, an IMX song, which is kind of a jazzy swing. I call it like a drunken high school jazz swing
Yeah.
thing because the way we approach it, it's all sloshy and like I'm whacking the 2 and 4, which you're not supposed to. In jazz, the
Yeah.
snare is supposed to be kind of light,
Yeah.
but we sort of it's like a jazz abomination. I mean that in
Yeah.
a good way though.
Yeah.
The way we approach that particular song. But anyway, often with jazz too, you're clicking the hi hat on beats 2 and 4, kind of like you would a backbeat with a snare. And but I'm crashing on beat 1 often, and I just crash on that open hi hat because I'm riding
Yes.
on the crash cymbal as if the crash
Yes.
was a ride cymbal. Yeah, but this is
Yes.
all having to do with us having this minimal setup, and then uh yeah,
John, this could go
it's
back to.
it's weird. It's weird business. I know. It's like it's not. I mean, yeah, if I had a normal kit, I would be playing just the ride cymbal and getting that thing. But for whatever reason, and part of it, a lot of these minimalist kits, maybe it was because they're like, hey, we got to fly with this thing and it's got to weigh a certain amount of, and so I'm
Oh,
going, all right, what
wow.
pieces can I take out? How can I do?
Wow.
So a lot of this has to do with utility, or like, hey,
Crazy.
we're in a tour bus, but we're not going to have a trailer. So this has got to fit in one of the cargo bays.
Wow.
Can we get like some sort of a drum kit or do things and stack it? And, so that I know these are weird things that, to kind of consider when you're doing it. But, that has a lot to do with, and then in Chris's case with IMX, he just visually likes
Yes.
small kits because he's like, and I get it, less people
Yes.
are do that. Less people are kind of super minimalist. People are more like, ooh, we want this big centerpiece drum kit that's, double bass drum and multiple toms, and maybe that's just, and that's cool too. I mean, I get kind of dazzled by all that kind of stuff, but I mean, sometimes when you go the complete opposite and just be like, how
Yeah.
little can I bring on stage and get this show happening? And so that's a fun challenge, to be honest.
And John, it goes back to Elvin Jones, right? Just these blue note, these jazz guys who just use a minimal kit and they do unbelievable shit with the few things they have on stage. And you're kind of doing that when you're doing working with the hi hat like that, very much so, like a jazz.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just trying to get as much out of that thing as I can.
Yeah,
Honestly, yeah. I'm not just using it to
yeah,
get the sound that we all expect from the hi hat. So uh, yeah, that's what's going on there.
yeah. John, so you have the Mortis shirt on. You're about to go on tour with
Ah,
him.
yes.
Yeah, and I chatted with him last time you guys were in New York. And how 2 questions. Just and this is sheer curiosities. Like, how did you meet Mortis? Because he's taking you out again. And like, and how did you sleep in that van? He's very pro green vans. And I was at that. How the hell did I'm trying to imagine. Like, how did you fit your drums, the equipment? And then sleep in that green van. You sleep on like how do you guys sleep in there?
Well, I think was that the van tour thing, the video, the interview that he did. He did
Yeah,
some interview with where he's.
yeah.
Last time we went on tour, we were out in a Sprinter, and it was like 4 of us, I think. Yeah,
It was
we had
with
a
Mayhem.
driver who
It was
did
the it
merch.
was the Mayhem
With
show.
Mayhem.
You had the
Oh,
great. You
okay,
had
yeah, yeah. No, we weren't sleeping in that. We had hotels every night.
okay, okay,
So
okay,
yeah, we didn't sleep in it. I mean, sure,
okay,
people would sleep in it,
okay.
but that wasn't like our place that we would
Got
we
it.
would sleep every single night. I mean, except for a couple of times. We did have like I think we had to go from New York to
Canada.
maybe Montreal,
Yes.
and we had to do the border. We had to cross with Mayhem, and they were in a bus.
Yeah.
So yeah, we didn't sleep that day. That sucked.
Yeah.
That was actually
Yeah.
that might have been the worst on the tour as far as
Yeah.
like doing that drive. I know that we've got some pretty gnarly drives coming up, but I think we're in a very small RV. I don't know what company we're of an RV that we're going to take for this next run,
Yeah.
but yeah, we're gonna be in an RV, so I'll be able to sleep on that thing.
Yeah.
I remember, yeah, we are going to be sleeping on it. So there'll be bunks or something
Yeah.
in there where we can all kind of lay down.
Yeah. Very, very cool. Oh
It's
wait,
you know
how'd you
it's
meet him?
hard
Wait,
it's
but
hard
how'd you
living.
meet him? How'd you meet Mortis? How'd you guys come in touch? Because you work very well together. It's almost like the music. You collaborate very well with the Mortis music, but also visually, it's like performance art. You guys visually work really well together. You look great together visually. How did you guys meet up, or did he find you? You found him, or
Thanks. Yeah. Matthew Setzer.
okay,
He is the guitar player for Skinny Puppy and London After Midnight,
wow,
and he also played guitar with Frontline Assembly. And I've known him for several years. He and I came up in LA around the same time. We're
yeah,
about the same age and all that kind of stuff. And Matthew, I think, worked with him on something because Matthew just hits me up out of the blue. He's like, "Hey, man, uh, Avar, might need a drummer for a tour coming up, and they're going out with Mayhem." And I was like, "Are you interested?" And I was just like, "Definitely, like, like yeah,
yeah,
of course." I grew up listening. I mean, Mortis was the album that we were focused on too, Fought Till Hursk, which was his second record. I mean, that was actually the first album I ever owned on vinyl. Because as a kid I was very much into Scandinavian death metal and black metal, and I just got my
cold
hands
meat
on.
industry stuff, right? All the cold meat industry.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah. So he kind of put a lot of stuff out on that as well
yeah,
too, when he was doing his solo stuff.
yeah.
But yeah. So I picked up all the records around that time in the early '90s. Um, anyway,
So word of,
so
from
yeah, I
word of
was
mouth,
honored.
you guys connected.
It was,
Word of
it
mouth.
was just, yeah, word of mouth. I mean, to answer your question, word of mouth, and then we just started DMing one another on
That's great.
Instagram, and that was, yeah. And
Yeah.
then kind of made arrangements that way, and yeah, the rest
Hey,
is history. So I mean, we
John,
did the tour, it went well, and here I am for round two. So
John, with the DM you bring up in general, and I want to start talking about your book next. A couple questions about your book. With the DMing, do you feel like you would still have the career you have without social media and the all this technology that did not exist in the 80s? I guess word of mouth could have helped you, but I mean, you have said. I mean, once you said you in LA, you've been at people's apartments who have gold records, and these guys are broke. They can't even get shows, and you're out there touring. Social media, I imagine, has been very helpful for you. Me and you connected DMing, so
yeah.
you know,
Oh, for sure. Yeah, no, it's been a great tool.
yeah,
And I've been using it a lot. I mean, could I be using it even more than what I do? Of course,
uh,
but I never set. I kind of, okay, yeah, I don't want to go down that path of,
yeah,
okay, I could be doing a lot more with it, but versus not, but absolutely, to answer your question, yes, social media has definitely helped
yeah,
me, and if it did not exist, um, the
murder,
one of my strengths that I'm aware of beyond just like, I mean, the thing that I feel like that has gotten me places in life is that I do not give up.
yeah, resilience, yeah,
I'm persistent, and if I have a goal set, then that is what I'm going to do.
incredible,
So that being said, if it wasn't, I mean, social media was the tool that has gotten me places. But if it didn't exist, I'd be going out to the
yeah,
clubs where musicians were hanging out, and I'd be meeting people that way.
yeah,
It's funny that I say all this stuff because uh, I've become a little more private as time has gone by. But
uh,
that's mostly because when you're on the road so much, I value my alone time a
sure,
bit more. So
sure,
so and I know it kind of blends in because I'm saying on one hand it's making it sound like I'm this huge extrovert that's utilizing
yeah,
social media and being at the club and being in everybody's face and all that and that's true to a degree, but not nearly as much. I mean, I've been sort of, I don't want to say I've been kind of resting on the fact that I have already done some of that groundwork a long time
yeah,
ago, but in a way I kind of have. I mean, there's people will just kind of hit me up. I'm not putting it out there as much like, hey, go find,
yeah,
somebody pick me or something like that. It's more, yeah, a lot of word of mouth. And, the more you're on the road and, you're running across people and you might connect with somebody in a
Yeah,
different band and then someone's like, yeah. And then someone might be like, well, we need a drummer who can do sort of this sort of thing. And then all of a sudden your name's thrown into a hat. So yeah,
yeah,
that's kind of how all this is snowballed for me, to be honest. It was just like, hey, I'm a guy who, I'm not the greatest drummer on the planet, but I'm somebody who is passionate about drums. I'm passionate about touring, and I don't give up. And I'm going to continue to be here. And so I
yeah,
think that's what has gotten me gigs.
yeah.
It's not like I'm some child prodigy who's just slaying it on the drums,
Yeah,
So
yeah, but as a drummer myself, and I don't do it. I do it only for myself now. But what you're doing, John, is very important because it inspired me so much. Where I had to felt very compelled to speak with to do an interview with you and stuff because you're very inspiring and it's very rare. I go to a lot of shows and you're very rare, and it's what you're doing is very special. And it's not just your drumming; it's the combination of your vibe, your look, your approach to the instrument, and how in my opinion, you treat the drums and your instrument and drumming as an art. And I see you almost like visual, like an art piece and like a MoMA thing. Yeah, you're like a performance artist in a lot of ways.
thank
Anyway,
you.
yeah. So let's talk a couple things about your book. And I know you probably speak often about your book. The book is I read it this week. Before talking to you on this interview, and love your book. I think I told you that for me it's a compelling memoir that integrates, of course, health and diet, but also your life story and how you became a drummer and your passion for drumming, although with a heavy anchor on health and stuff. So I have a couple of questions about
Yeah.
health books that I didn't see in the book, so I want to hear from you. I'm just curious. So
Hmm.
one would be, what are your feelings about multivitamins? Because a lot of doctors feel that it's a myth that these multivitamin pills that people take, it's really not doing. You're better off doing what you do, which is to get all the vitamins from various food groups. And I think you said except for the B2 would it be for the sun, and then yeah. So tell me
C2.
about
Yeah.
multivitamins and what are your feelings about multivitamins as a supplement?
Yeah. I mean, I would just be cautious to anyone who wants to get involved with taking a lot of supplements in general, just because the supplement industry is not very well regulated for starters. So you don't even know if you're getting
Yeah,
all of what it's advertising. So
yeah,
I'll start with that. Second to it, uh, I don't know that from what I've gathered through doing my own research is that often these supplements can actually be harmful when taken in these large concentrated doses rather than just getting it released naturally through
yeah,
food, with the exception of vitamin B12.
yeah,
Um, Vitamin B12, I think, is something that pretty much everyone might consider. I think one should always, if you're curious as to uh, your status on any of these nutrients, you can get blood tests
yeah,
and see where you kind of fall, like what kind of range.
yeah.
This all becomes very confusing, so I'm trying to also say this in like a very concise
Sure,
manner too. But
sure.
because the ranges sometimes change over time too. Like what should we be striving for, and like vitamin D is one of those things where there's a lot of different opinions out there. Is like how much of this do we need? And while we're on the subject, vitamin D is something that you can get from sunlight. Um, are there people with deficiencies? Yeah, there probably are, especially if you live further up north and you're not
Yes.
going outside much. But if you get, 10 minutes, 20 minutes of sunlight, during the midday, like regularly throughout the week, you're probably getting adequate vitamin D.
Oh wow.
Um, yeah, B12 is really the only one that I will occasionally supplement. I don't do it too much. It's a water soluble vitamin. Often the problem happens with fat soluble vitamins and certain minerals. That's when you start to see harmful effects
Yeah.
when you're taking these things in large concentrations. And plus, there's various forms of certain nutrients and vitamins and whatnot, and we're getting one isolated form.
Yeah.
Like for instance, like beta carotene and vitamin A. There's several different carotenoids out there, and it's better to just simply get these from food. Is my belief and
Yes.
understanding, and to not get hung up on the numbers so much. And if I need a little bit of something to back that up, I would say, okay, well, we can look at some of the blue zones, for instance. And the blue zones are populations that boast the most centenarians, which are people that live to be over 100 years old.
Yeah.
And my understanding is that, they looked at the traditional diets of, say, people from Okinawa, which is a blue zone, or it was. It's starting to not become one because, they've adopted more Western habits as far as their eating goes. But traditionally speaking, their diet was based around sweet potatoes with some little bits of fruit and vegetables and the occasional little bit of seafood.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not a vegan diet, but it was actually mostly vegan. But
Yeah.
anyway, these people, if you were to put their diet through Chronometer or one of these um, uh, apps that kind of show the nutritional values of the foods that they're eating, they might say, "Oh, wow, this is a little bit light in this amino acid or this nutrient and whatnot." Yet these people were living to be over 100 years old, a lot of them. Now, there's more to life in living that long than just what you eat. There's several variables that contribute to good or poor health. So, but anyway, I reeling it back in,
Yeah.
I don't believe that we need to be worried about the numbers so much. Like, oh my God, I need to have X amount of calcium. I better start eating broccoli like it's like there's no tomorrow to get more and more calcium. I just eat foods that contain some calcium in them, and your body reuses and recycles certain nutrients as well. So I wouldn't get hung up on I think supplement industries, and I mean, just turn on the TV and you're going to see. I mean, I'll lump in pharmaceuticals into this. They want you to buy this stuff because it's big business. It's big business money, and people want to get you hooked. And if they can tell you that you got a problem, or you're going to have a problem if you get deficient, you're going to get all these issues if you don't do this. And so now they're selling you the solution. So I'd be skeptical with supplements, and
Yeah.
so I truly believe that. Um, and
What about light therapy for vitamin D in these areas, like you're saying, in Norwegian areas where there's no light for long periods of time? Some people use these light therapy for the
yeah,
vitamin D. Oh, how do you feel about that?
yeah. I mean, if that works, then yeah, great. I think that's probably fine. But I don't know that there's any adverse effects from what I've read about light therapy. But often, okay, vitamin D is also a fat storing vitamin as well too. And even though we're getting it, like our body makes
Yeah.
it when we come into contact with sun.
Yeah.
Even if you're living in Norway or a place like that, where you're not getting a lot of that full spectrum light in the winter times, if you're getting enough of this nutrient during the summer months, from what I hear, your body will still maintain
Interesting.
good, healthy stores of vitamin D.
Like a solar panel. It'll keep it.
Like a kind of like a solar panel. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Interesting.
So that is my understanding. I wouldn't quote me on it, but um, yeah, I mean your levels might dip in the winter, but I
Yeah.
don't think that you're going to be at some radical deficiency. If you're really concerned, I would, and none of this is medical advice, so I don't want anyone
Yeah.
coming after me and trying to sue. This is
Yeah.
just my understanding based on
Sure.
what I've read and what I've experienced for myself. That is it.
Sure. Of course.
But if you were concerned, I would think that if you took a little bit of vitamin D in the wintertime, that would be probably okay. I don't know that you would run
Yeah.
into some vitamin D toxicity by taking a little bit, kind of a judicious amount of it once in a while in the
Yeah.
winter. But that being said, I'm an advocate of eating whole plant foods
Yeah.
for the most part. I mean, I do eat some refined plant foods, and I eat some even. I occasionally will eat ultra processed foods, which I'm not,
Oh wow.
I don't advocate for that either. I don't, I mean, I'm only saying this just to kind of be, full disclosure. It's
You
not, I
mean
mean, you're going
when you talk about Taco Bell? You brought up that's one of out of
to,
all
sure.
fast food you'll do it. You'll support at least a Taco Bell or a Chipotle kind of a thing.
Exactly, exactly. Like if I'm in a real pinch in a real situation, I mean, which this happens less and less as time goes on,
Yeah.
then yeah, you could see me walking into a Taco Bell and getting a fresco bean burrito. And
Going
granted,
all
most
out. Just going all
I'm
out.
not, yeah, you won't see me. I haven't gone that far. I still kind of stay away from chips and things like that, but yeah, I mean, I'm not
Yeah.
perfect with following
Yeah.
the diet strategy that I talk about.
Do you have
Um,
do you have cheat days, John? Because you say you'll have a beer once in a while at the end of a show, one or two beers once in a while. Will you have a cheat day? Will you just go to McDonald's and just get a quarter, like go all out on the fries? Do you ever do that?
yeah. Well, I mean, one thing that I don't ever do is eat something that is not vegan. Because the whole vegan thing started for me because of animals.
Yeah.
So and I compartmentalize that separate from health.
Yeah.
The vegan thing
Uh,
is for the animals,
yeah.
and I suppose we can distinguish it by calling it plant-based eating if
Yeah.
we want to talk about the health or the style of diet that I follow. Um, uh, so anyway, to answer your question, uh, I don't have a cheat day per se, but yeah, I mean, every so often I do like a burger and fries,
Oh
and
wow.
but it'll be a vegan burger, of course,
Okay.
and fries, but
Okay.
it will. I mean, that's a. I mean, the dopamine hit you get from something like that. I mean, it is kind of
Wow.
like a drug. So I mean, it's
Wow.
it's really enjoyable, and it doesn't usually throw me off course. But I mean, even when I eat something like that now, I'm not interested in all the sodium and the fat that comes along with it. The
Yeah.
refined fat from the vegetable oil and all the salt that they add.
Yeah.
I try to stay away from oil and salt,
Yeah.
all that stuff. I try to keep it pretty simple, basic. That's why I like making my own food,
Yeah.
and it's worked well for me. I mean, it's kept my blood pressure down. Heart disease is a major issue in my family,
Yeah. You put
and
that in the book. Yeah. What
yeah,
about
yeah. So
when you talk about oils and you talk about vegetable and olive oil? What about you don't bring up the air fryers? What are your feelings about this new popular air fryer thing where you don't have to use any
mhm.
oil, right? You just
Yeah.
fry it. What are your thoughts about the air fryers?
Um, I think air fryers are pretty good. Now, this is going to sound, it might sound anal retentive on my end. Air fryers are cool, and yes, you can cook things without oil in
Yeah.
them. The
But
problem with dry heat
okay.
cooking is the
Okay.
acrylamides.
Interesting.
When acrylamides are toxic chemicals formed when you heat things up in a dry way to a certain temperature.
Wow.
Often it's associated with meat, like people who grill meat, and you get the char marks on it, and those are thought to be highly carcinogenic. So, but the same could be said about vegetable matter or anything else when
Yeah.
you start browning things or blackening things,
Yeah.
that you're starting to develop. I mean, it's at a lower level through plants,
Yeah.
but it's not something I would try to do often. So I eat a lot of things that are. I eat cooked food, obviously, but a lot of it is cooked through, I guess, wet methods, through
Yeah.
steaming, through boiling, that
Yeah.
sort of thing. Just
Yeah.
real basic stuff. I use an instant pot pretty much religiously.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, I mean, a lot of people might think that my diet, especially what it's evolved to, would be incredibly boring. And hey, man, I'm okay with it because I feel good doing this. And when I do have any sort of tests or somebody tests my blood pressure or cholesterol,
It's all
the
good.
numbers are still, yeah,
Yeah.
still low.
Yeah.
So, and I've maintained my weight over the years. I'm
Yeah.
not losing a bunch of weight doing this, but
Yeah.
I'm also not gaining a ton of weight
Yeah.
either.
John, I mean,
I've kind of maintained it the whole time, and
you don't look like you have any
I
body
attribute
fat,
that to
man.
food.
Yeah, you're like Bruce Lee. You have
Well,
like zero
yeah.
body fat.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you want to keep that low. I mean, for health reasons, if you can.
Sure. Yeah.
So yeah,
Two more questions. One is about a difficult topic, but cancer. And I'm just curious.
sure.
Edward Van Halen, he had initially the tongue cancer, and then he had a lot of other health problems. But he would travel to Germany for a special a doctor who did a different type of technique rather than chemotherapy for him. And then during COVID, he could not travel to Germany, and then he succumbed terribly to the cancer, and he died. And then Steve Jobs, who I believe was a vegan, he's definitely a vegetarian, lived a
Hmm.
very strict diet, died very young of cancer. And when he was first, there's an incredible biography on him that came out not long ago. I highly recommend it to you. But in the biography, they speak about they had first seen a spot on his kidney, and because he was so uh, driven to eat to have a healthy diet and lifestyle, he didn't want to address that. He wanted to continue to eat healthy. Do you think you're the kind of person that if you did go through it, get a physical, and something was detected, a shadow, anything, would you follow through with any kind of procedure to have an organ removed or chemotherapy, or do you think you would go more of a different route?
Yeah, that's a really interesting and good question because, yeah, I mean, we are all going to die of
Yeah,
something, and chances are it will be heart disease or cancer or something along those lines is what's
yeah,
going to, if not something like getting, I ride my bike a lot, I get hit by a bus or something like that.
sure.
But but um yeah, so and yeah, these are things that, yeah, it is maybe important to start thinking like, I'm getting older. I'm 47. So I mean, I'm not ancient yet, but I mean, things start to happen to people, and I think even when you follow what I consider to be a healthy diet, it doesn't make you bulletproof. It makes I think that there is enough evidence out there to suggest that you're going to be bettering your chances.
Sure.
But I think there's so many variables that drive cancer and whatnot that um
But you, John,
narrowing something down to one thing is I don't know that that's the right way to approach or think about it all. But okay, so now to answer the question, what
yeah,
would I do?
yeah,
If I found out that I had something that was
okay.
carcinogenic, and depending on where I was, I would try to find out about the specific type of cancer for starters.
You research then. You
Um,
do your own
yeah,
personal.
I would do as much research on that particular type of cancer because
Yeah.
you know what? Some of the cancers that we might get or start to develop move so slow that you might die of
Oh,
something else
interesting.
before that cancer actually kills you.
Very
So I
interesting.
would imagine there might be something already forming right now in me, because again, none of us I mean, this we've gotten pretty dark with the subject matter in that sense, but this is reality. I mean, we're talking about our lives, our health, and
But this is fun
um
stuff.
but
Like, hey, this is fun stuff.
yeah, I mean, well, hey, you
Light
know what?
stuff.
There's also I mean, not to jump around too much, but I'll say this. I mean, I do on some level believe in the YOLO philosophy. You only live once. And and yeah, so when I see certain people just kind of going, fuck it, I'm going to do whatever I want
Yeah.
to do and just live life, and they maybe
Yes.
like die at a younger age. I
I.
sometimes look at those people and I'm like, all
They're
right,
happy.
I mean, they
Yeah.
are happy, and they
They're
kind
happy.
of they lived life the way that they wanted to,
Sure.
and they're an adult and they can make that decision. Uh, I get that. I get it on some level because there's a part of me. I think that there's a part of that type of person that's in me as well.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, you're doing it with
but that, but
with your
that,
hearing. You're doing it with your hearing, right? You're like that's
yes,
part of
yes.
that goes with the territory.
Yeah, so that's why I said even back earlier that yeah, I'm kind of a hypocrite in a way,
Oh
but
yeah.
I'm picking and choosing the what
Yes.
I think are the healthy things that I want to follow
Sure.
versus just doing all this stuff. But I think if you were to do all the things,
Yes.
then I would probably live in a remote area and be growing my own food and like, drinking nothing but pure
Yeah.
water. I would be doing all this stuff to like try to live a very
Yeah.
into a very old age.
Yeah.
All right. I hope I'm not digressing too
You're
much,
not.
but if something were to happen to me, jumping back on track, um, I would try to find out about that particular type of, say,
Yeah.
cancer, and I would start aggressively tweaking certain
Okay.
things in my life. I would try to do as much lifestyle stuff,
Yeah.
like if there's maybe an area that I haven't considered or maybe I could optimize a bit better, I would start there before and they call it watchful waiting. So I would, kind of be in contact with whoever is keeping an eye on this cancer
Sure.
and just be like, okay, I've tried to optimize some things. Maybe I even do some sort of a fast or something like that too. I would try a number of techniques before I would start bringing
Yeah.
in, and by no means am I, me
Yeah.
saying this about myself, am I putting judgment on anybody
Of
for
course.
doing whatever method they decide to go with, because
Sure.
because I think when you're faced with that sort
Yeah.
of moment,
Yeah.
in life that um, we all have to do what we believe is best in the people that are around us that know as much information about the subject as possible. We're leaning on them for their advice and their support,
Yeah.
and in hopes that they're going to guide us into the right direction and path. So
Yeah.
anyway, I hope I'm not being too long-winded, but I would try to, yeah, I'd probably start with watchful waiting and aggressively optimizing certain things
Yeah.
that in really dial in certain foods that I know have a lot more powerful antioxidants and whatnot in them. And if it seemed like things were going at a more rapid rate, I would consider conventional uh, help.
Yeah.
Absolutely. At
Yeah.
that point,
That's
I
the
didn't know the conversation was going to go in this down this path, but yeah, that's probably what I would do. You know what
that's
I
the
mean?
social worker in you. Remember, you were going to
Yeah.
become a social worker. It's coming right at
Yeah,
you right
yeah.
now. You know, you're
I
speaking.
am skeptical of I'm skeptical of our healthcare industry. I'm skeptical of the pharmaceutical industry. I mean, I might as well just flat out say it. I think that there's a lot of I don't know that they have people's uh, best interest in
Yeah.
mind. I'm not saying that people are out there intentionally trying to harm others,
Yeah.
but I do think that money talks a lot when it comes to
Sure.
anything, and if I'm just another face to them,
Yeah.
then I think that people, big industries like that, care more about their bottom line and whatnot than they do about an individual's health. I do really think that, and it's sad to say that. I don't, but I think that there's been enough examples of that sort of thing uh, that I've seen along the way to make me think this way. And
Yeah.
and again, I think that it's sad that I've come to that conclusion, but I think that we need to be the best advocates for ourselves. I think that we need to try to find whatever the truth is. And
Yeah.
it's really hard because there's a lot of stuff, there's a lot of conflicting opinions and thoughts on these subjects out there. So, best of luck with
Yeah.
everybody trying to figure that out, because
Yeah.
yeah, there's people that say the complete opposite and say this is the way to go. And
Yeah.
for instance, like someone like myself, they're like, don't eat any carbohydrates, where it's like the kind of diet that I eat is like mostly carbohydrates.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Anyway, sorry, go on, I'll
no,
stop.
but that's what's so wonderful about your book, because that is how you approach your book. You're not didactic at all, and you speak of you make sure you remind the reader that these opinions are your opinions, but what you're trying to do is open up an interest for people to do their own investigations and research.
Yes,
for what works best for them, and that's what your book does, and it does it perfectly, in my opinion.
I
So yeah,
appreciate that.
yeah. So last question, and
Yeah, 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 yeah.
this is a totally fun one, and I like to end it on this kind of note, because it kind of goes with this health thing. But with Mortis, I asked about, UFOs and aliens and stuff. But with you, I want to ask you about, because I think you might be a believer. The 1967 Patterson footage of that Sasquatch walking around Bluff Creek in Northern California. I bring this up. Do you believe in there was the existence, if not maybe extinct at this point? Do you believe in Sasquatch? And I say this because
And
it would have existed because anthropologists who argue that it did indeed exist would be it lived off of roots, vegetation, plants, and away from us to even be able to find them. But do you believe in the existence of a Sasquatch, even if it's now extinct at this point?
I would have to say I need to know more information. I mean, of
Shit,
course, I
man.
understand the lore of Sasquatch,
Sure.
and it sounds, it sounds cool.
But the
But
Native Americans were drawing them on how did people all around the world were
I
drawing these things on
I'm I'm
caves?
I'm ignorant in this on this topic,
You're honest.
so I feel like I can't weigh in on this particular one, but
Very honest.
um yeah, I guess that I know that just kills the whole conversation right there. I feel like I don't know enough information to kind of have a
Yeah.
strong,
Well, I'm a
but
believer. Well, we'll
oh,
end
nice.
we'll end it with the poster. Explain to me and the audience, why do you have that? I love that documentary. That particular poster back there. You've had that for years in your drum
Oh,
studio. Where the
yeah, I saw it when I came out. I mean,
it's like
again, like with uh the posters Until the Light Takes Us, and
yeah,
I mean, Dark Throne in particular, so they follow around Fenris. I mean, they follow around a few of the people within the
sure.
Norwegian black metal scene. And I saw the documentary when it came out, and I got the poster framed and everything from watching the film. You know, I saw it in the theater too. It was I just knew it was going to be about it, and I knew
Yeah.
it had to do with again, like I said, Dark Throne was a huge kind of influence on me.
Oh,
A band that I really was drawn to as a younger person. I still like the music quite a bit.
yeah.
And anyway, yeah, so they follow them, they follow Fenris around and a few of the other people in that scene,
But you have
and
the
they interview
poster because you
but I
you
had the
like the
poster.
yeah.
Yeah, and I thought I mean, it's just a cool poster.
It is.
Honestly, it's like, yeah, there's nothing really too much to it. It's just I enjoyed I enjoyed the documentary. It was cool to, it was,
Yeah.
I mean, it happened after the Lords of Chaos book. I mean, that whole scene was quite intriguing.
Yeah.
Clearly, I mean, there was just so much. Uh, I mean, it was just such a wild story when you think
Yeah.
about it all. But
Did you see the film?
obviously, like good, bad, there's all sorts of things in there. It's just a very intense scene. But
Yes.
anyway, I enjoyed watching the documentary, and like I said, I'm a big fan of Dark Throne and
Yeah.
some of those bands.
Did you see the documentary When a Tree Falls about the elf? If you haven't, you need to watch it like ASAP. You need to write it down. If a Tree Falls, it's a documentary about the Earth Liberation Front movement and a particular case. Yeah.
Interesting. No, I did-
You need to watch
I
it.
know about Earth First. I mean, Earth First was sort of a
Right.
'90s
Right.
um, kind of civil disobedience kind of group, I think, that did, just they were kind of advocates for, I guess, uh, not destroying the earth as quickly as
Yeah.
we are.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm slightly familiar with that stuff from the '90s because I used to go watch bands like Earth Crisis play,
Yeah.
and a lot of the punk groups and the hardcore bands from the '90s. They were very uh, socially active,
Yeah.
um, and you would see Earth First magazines on people's merch tables, just like you would see vegan literature and all that kind of stuff too. It was part of the punk scene, at least the punk scene that I grew up in.
You would love
Um,
if this is it deals with
anyway, is it if that's related to that, then
it
yeah.
is yeah, it's this guy Daniel McGowan is the guy who was part of this group. Uh, some people would deem it like environmental terrorism, but it's they were very hardcore about the environment and animals, and you really it's an incredible documentary called When a Tree Falls. If is it When a Tree Falls? It's If a Tree Falls, the story of the Earth Liberation Front. That's the name of the movie, and
Yeah, I'll have to check it out.
it's a very good documentary. It's really good. You'd love it.
Nice.
All right, man. We did 2 hours. I thought it was going to be
Yeah.
40 minutes. I paid money for a
Yeah, that was a
longer
long
Zoom.
one.
Thank
Yeah,
God
yeah.
I
I might
did
have to
that.
do a
Shit.
session with somebody.
Yes. Listen, I'm again. I've said it before. I love you, and I love everything you do. You're very inspiring to me. Thank you for this conversation. I'm not going to do too much heavy editing. I think I should just let the conversation go. I will put those two. You sent me two photographs of you early on playing bass and drums, and I'm gonna keep it simple, and I'll keep you posted. Give me 2 or 3 days just to put it nicely together. And if you want me
Okay.
to put anything, if you want me to put anything at the end credits, just let me know. DM me or email me. And and yeah, do you have how'd you feel about this 2 hour conversation? Everything's okay? You're good?
Yeah, it was cool. Yeah,
Okay.
everything was cool. Yeah,
Okay.
I didn't anticipate it either.
I
I
didn't
mean, like,
either.
yeah,
I
yeah,
didn't either.
yeah. I mean, fortunately, yeah, I, I don't have. I have to double check my phone, but I don't think I have another appointment. Because I do some personal training and
Oh,
also drum lessons, but I do it all, the way that we're doing this with just
sure.
FaceTime or Zoom and
Yeah.
but anyway, yeah, I don't have anyone until I think 7 p.m. tonight, my
Okay.
time. I'm on the West
Yeah.
Coast, so I'm 3 hours behind you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've got to practice a little bit of Pschlon Nine, a little bit of Mortiis,
Okay.
and I'll just probably do that
Yeah.
until that happens, and then that
Yeah.
will probably just be my day.
Yeah.
So-
All right, John, I'm going to let you go. But, John, again, please always remember you matter and what you're doing with your book and with your music and with your drumming and your lifestyle and your approach to life. It really matters. And I'm just a guy in New York, and I reached out to you because there's something very powerful about your existence. And thank you for all that you do, and thank you for inspiring me because I'm certain that you inspire so many other people. And I want to play drums now after talking to you.
Thanks. Definitely
Yeah,
do
yeah,
it. Do it.
yeah.
I'm gonna do the same in just a moment. So yeah.
All right, take care of yourself. We'll
And,
be in touch.
and all right,
All
sounds
right,
good.
take care,
Have a good
bro.
one.
All
Thanks.
right, later.
Bye.